Life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges at you, especially when it comes to family. As I sit here in my home office in suburban Chicago, surrounded by multiple monitors displaying code and project timelines, I can't help but reflect on how my story began. My name is David, and I'm a 33-year-old project manager at a leading IT firm. But before I tell you about my current life, I need to start from the beginning. A beginning marked by loss and pain that shaped who I am today. You see, my mother passed away while giving birth to me at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I never got to meet her, never got to feel her embrace, never heard her voice. Instead, I was raised by my father, John, who couldn't or wouldn't separate his grief from his role as a parent. Every day in our house became a reminder of his loss. From my earliest memories, my father's words cut deep. "You're the reason she's gone," he'd say, his voice heavy with resentment. I never wanted this. Your life came at the cost of the person I loved most. The weight of those words crushed me daily. Every achievement, every milestone was overshadowed by the constant reminder that my very existence had taken away someone irreplaceable. He'd drill into me that because my life had cost so much, I needed to prove I was worth that sacrifice. If I didn't, he'd remind me that my mom's death would have been meaningless. The psychological burden of being blamed for my mother's death while still learning to navigate the world was overwhelming. I was too young to understand the complexities of grief, too young to know that his behavior wasn't normal. All I knew was that my only living parent treated me like a burden, a constant reminder of his loss rather than his child. Growing up, living with my father was like walking through a minefield. The smallest things could trigger his anger or disapproval. My childhood bedroom became my sanctuary, a small, safe space where I could escape his constant criticism and blame. "Dad, look, I got all A's this semester." I remember the trembling excitement in my voice as I held out my report card one winter afternoon. I was in middle school, and I'd studied harder than ever, hoping that maybe this time would be different. My father barely glanced up from his phone, his face a mask of indifference. "Keep studying harder," he grunted, scrolling through his social media feed. "Plenty of kids get straight A's. It's nothing special." He then proceeded to show me posts of his friends' children winning science fairs and debate competitions, making sure I understood just how unremarkable my achievements were. The weekends, which should have been a break from school pressure, became another source of stress. I'd watch from my window as neighborhood kids played basketball or rode their bikes, while I sat at my desk, surrounded by textbooks. "Can I go to Jake's house? They're having a study group," I'd ask, knowing the answer before the words left my mouth. "Study group?" My father would scoff, his eyes narrowing. "You mean waste time playing video games? Focus on your studies so you can get out of my house faster. That's all you need to worry about." He'd often add the kicker that made my stomach churn. "You're just a guest here anyway. Don't forget that." His words would echo in my head as I'd retreat to my room, feeling more like an unwanted tenant than a son. I channeled all that pain and rejection into my studies, particularly into computer science. Lines of code became my escape. They were logical, predictable, unlike my father's mood swings. When I coded, I felt in control. Each successfully compiled program was a small victory, a proof that I could create something worthwhile. College years. My acceptance letter to the University of Illinois' computer science program, complete with a full scholarship, felt like a golden ticket to freedom. As I held the envelope, my hands trembling slightly, I felt a mix of triumph and relief wash over me. This was my chance, my opportunity to finally break free from the suffocating atmosphere of my father's house. The campus in Urbana-Champaign became my new home, and for the first time in my life, I could breathe freely. My dorm room, though small and shared with a roommate, felt more like home than any place I'd lived before. There were no eggshells to walk on, no constant reminders of my unwanted existence. Those 4 years were transformative. I threw myself into everything college had to offer, joined the coding club, participated in hackathons, and even started making friends without the constant fear of judgment. My father tried to maintain his control through occasional phone calls, but distance had given me the strength to start setting boundaries. I got an internship at a tech startup, I told him during one of our rare phone conversations. That's it? My friend's son is interning at Google, he replied, his voice dripping with his usual disappointment. But this time, instead of feeling crushed, I just rolled my eyes and changed the subject. His words didn't have the same power over me anymore. Meeting Emma. It was during my senior year, at a campus tech conference, that I met Emma. She was presenting her research on UX design, and something about her confident yet approachable demeanor caught my attention. We bonded over coffee after her presentation, discussing everything from coding paradigms to our favorite sci-fi shows. Emma was different from anyone I'd ever met. She worked as a software developer at a healthcare startup, and her passion for using technology to help people resonated with me. But what really drew me to her was how she listened, really listened, when I talked. You know, it's okay to take up space in the world, David, she told me one evening as we sat in her small apartment, working on our laptops side by side. Your existence isn't something you need to apologize for. That simple statement hit me harder than she probably realized. For the first time, someone was telling me that I had a right to exist without conditions or expectations. Emma became not just my girlfriend, but my anchor in a world that had always felt unstable. The healing process. With Emma's encouragement, I started seeing a therapist during my final year of college. Our weekly sessions became a crucial part of my healing journey. Dr. Richard's office, with its calming blue walls and comfortable armchair, became a space where I could finally unpack the years of trauma I'd carried. Every time I achieve something at work, I hear his voice in my head, I admitted during one session, staring at my hands, telling me it's not enough, that I need to do better. The therapy sessions helped me understand that my father's behavior wasn't just strict parenting. It was emotional abuse. I learned that my mother's death wasn't my fault, and that no child should bear the weight of their parents' grief. Career success. After graduation, I landed a job as a junior developer at a Chicago-based IT firm. Through dedication and hard work, I quickly climbed the ranks to become a project manager by my early 30s. My annual salary of $120,000 allowed me to buy a modest but comfortable house in the suburbs, something I'd achieved entirely on my own merit. WhatsApp messages from my father became increasingly rare, usually appearing only when he wanted to compare my life to someone else's. I'd see his social media posts bragging about imaginary business deals or exaggerated success stories, while I knew the reality was very different. I kept my own success quiet, posting rarely, and living my life on my own terms. Enter Sarah. The wedding invitation came through WhatsApp, a simple message announcing my father's marriage to Sarah. I hesitated for days before responding, but Emma helped me see it as an opportunity for closure. You don't owe him anything, she reminded me, squeezing my hand. But if you want to go, I'll be right there with you. The wedding was small, held in a local restaurant. Sarah seemed nice enough, a marketing consultant in her mid-40s who clearly didn't know the full story about our family dynamics. I kept our interaction polite but distant, maintaining the emotional boundaries I'd worked so hard to establish. The financial crisis. Just a month after the wedding, my phone lit up with a series of desperate WhatsApp messages from my father. Each notification made my stomach tighten as I sat in my home office, staring at the screen. David, I need to talk to you about something important, the first message read. It's about our living situation. More messages followed, revealing a familiar pattern of manipulation I'd seen throughout my childhood. My father had apparently fallen behind on rent payments for the past 6 months. He explained how he couldn't tell Sarah about this, claiming it would destroy their marriage. "I need you to help cover the rent," he wrote, "just until I get back on my feet." I felt a mix of anger and pity as I read his messages. The constant pinging of WhatsApp notifications reminded me of the persistent way he used to hammer his disappointment into me as a child. "I'm sorry, but I can't cover your rent," I typed back, my fingers steady despite the emotional turmoil inside. That evening, as Emma and I sat on our couch discussing the situation, I felt the old guilt creeping back in. The same guilt that had controlled me for so many years. "Maybe I'm being too harsh," I said, rubbing my temples. "He is still my father." Emma looked at me with concern. "David, you've worked hard for everything you have. You don't owe him anything." After a long night of discussion, I made a decision. I picked up my phone and sent him another message. "I can't pay your rent, but I have a spare room. You and Sarah can stay temporarily while you get back on your feet. This is a temporary arrangement. You'll need to work on finding your own place." The response was quick. "We'll take it. Thank you, son." Looking back, I should have recognized the red flags in how easily he accepted my offer. But part of me still hoped that things could be different this time. Living together. The first few weeks of our new living arrangement were tense but manageable. I had converted my home office into a guest room for them, moving my workstation to a corner of my bedroom. Every morning, I'd wake up early to attend virtual meetings, typing quietly while trying not to disturb the household's fragile peace. But it didn't take long for old patterns to emerge. My father started critiquing everything about my life, from how I organized my kitchen to my work schedule. His comments would come during dinner, in the hallway, even in WhatsApp messages while I was at work. "Your lawn needs mowing. When I was your age, I kept my house in perfect condition. You spend too much time on that computer. That's not a real job. Don't you think it's time you got a better car?" My friend's son just bought a BMW. I'd set boundaries firmly but politely. "Dad, this is my house, and I make my own choices about how to live in it." The situation with household chores became particularly problematic. I had created a simple schedule, everyone taking turns with cleaning and dishes. But more often than not, I'd come home from work to find dishes piled in the sink and the house a mess. One evening, after a particularly stressful day managing a critical software deployment, I came home to find my father lounging on the couch, scrolling through his phone while dirty dishes filled the kitchen sink. Sarah sat beside him, both seemingly oblivious to the mess. "Dad, it was your day to clean up," I said, trying to keep my voice level. We agreed on the schedule. He looked up from his phone, his face showing that familiar expression of contempt. "You're a grown man who I raised single-handedly after your mom passed away. You should be ashamed for asking me to do housework at my age. You can wash the dishes yourself." The old anger bubbled up inside me, but this time it was different. I wasn't a helpless child anymore. "Actually, what's shameful is you sitting on my couch, in my house, watching my TV, eating my food, and ordering me around when you were the one who asked to move in. If you don't want to help maintain this household, you're welcome to leave anytime." The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah shifted uncomfortably on the couch while my father stared at me, clearly not used to being challenged. Without another word, I went to my room and closed the door, my heart pounding, but my resolve stronger than ever. The confrontation. The next morning, I woke up early as usual for my project status meetings. As I made my way to the kitchen for coffee, I found Sarah alone, sitting at the breakfast bar with an unusually serious expression. "David, can we talk?" she asked, gesturing to the stool beside her. I checked my smartwatch. I had 20 minutes before my first call. Sure, what's up? Sarah's demeanor was different from her usual friendly self as she launched into what seemed like a prepared speech. Your father is really hurt after last night's conversation. I think you need to understand how much he's done for you, especially with this house. I nearly choked on my coffee. What do you mean? Well, he told me about how he helped you with the down payment, she continued, her tone growing more confident. Given his current situation, I think it's only fair that you start paying us some rent while we're here. After all, this is partially your father's house too. The absurdity of the situation hit me like a wave. I couldn't help but let out a laugh, which clearly wasn't the reaction Sarah expected. Sarah, I need to tell you something, I said, pulling up my home ownership documents on my phone. My father hasn't contributed a single dollar to this house. I bought it entirely with my own savings from my job. He didn't even know about it until after I closed on it. The color drained from her face as she looked at the documents. But he said, he told me he used his savings to help you. Just like he told you he could afford rent on your apartment? I asked gently. Sarah, I think there's a lot about my father that you don't know. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her phone. He's been lying to me about everything, hasn't he? I saw her quickly typing a message, then gathering her things. Within an hour, she had packed her bags and left, leaving only a brief note saying she needed time to think. The aftermath. That evening, as I sat in my home office, catching up on work emails, I heard my father's heavy footsteps stomping through the house. His WhatsApp messages had been buzzing my phone all afternoon, but I'd muted them to focus on my project deadlines. What did you say to Sarah? He demanded, bursting into my office without knocking. He was clutching his phone, showing Sarah's last message about needing space. Why couldn't you just keep your mouth shut about the house? I turned away from my monitors, forcing myself to stay calm. I told her the truth, Dad. That's all. The truth? He scoffed, pacing the room. You've made me look small in front of my wife. You should have just played along. Now she won't even answer my calls. Played along with your lies? I stood up from my desk. Just like I had to play along when you blamed me for Mom's death all those years? Or when you told everyone at your wedding what a supportive father you've been. His face reddened. I gave you everything. No, I cut him off, my voice firm but controlled. You gave me trauma that I'm still working through in therapy. You gave me years of blame and guilt that I didn't deserve. And now you're giving me more reasons to regret letting you stay here. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I want you out of my house by tomorrow evening. You can't do this to me, he protested, his voice shifting from anger to desperation. I'm your father. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought about that before lying to your wife about owning my house. I turned back to my computer, signaling the end of the conversation. I'll help you pack if you need it, but you're leaving tomorrow. The final break. Over the next few weeks, my father's messages became increasingly hostile. Each notification brought a new accusation about how I'd ruined his marriage, how no decent son would treat their father this way. I finally made the decision to block his number. Emma sat with me as I hit the block button, her presence providing the support I needed. You're doing the right thing, David, she assured me, squeezing my hand. Sometimes protecting your peace means letting go. For the first time in my life, I felt truly free from my father's influence. The house felt lighter, peaceful, truly mine again. I converted the guest room back into my home office, setting up my monitors and dev environment just the way I liked it. Epilogue. 3 months later. I'm writing this from my quiet home office, looking out at the garden I've started growing. Something I'd always wanted to do, but never had the space or peace of mind for before. The morning sun streams through the window as I prepare for another day of project meetings and code reviews. My life has found a new rhythm now. My days are filled with work I enjoy, evenings spent with Emma, and weekends dedicated to personal projects and healing. The weekly therapy sessions continue, helping me process the years of trauma and build a healthier relationship with myself. Emma and I have grown closer through all of this. She's helped me understand that family isn't just about blood relations. It's about people who support and accept you for who you are. We're talking about moving in together soon, taking things at our own pace. I did receive one last message from Sarah, forwarded through a mutual contact. She shared that she had discovered the truth about my father's gambling addiction and his pattern of lies. She thanked me for being honest with her and apologized for her part in the rent situation. I wished her well, but maintained my distance. Some chapters are better left closed. The house is quiet now, filled only with the soft hum of computer fans and the occasional notification from work chats. There's no more walking on eggshells, no more guilt-ridden conversations, no more manipulation. For the first time in my life, I can truly say I'm at peace. My story isn't about hatred or revenge. It's about learning to set boundaries, about understanding that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is to let go. I've learned that being someone's child doesn't mean you have to carry their burdens, and that it's okay to choose your own happiness. As I sit here, preparing for my morning stand-up meeting, I feel grateful for where I am. The pain of the past hasn't disappeared completely. Maybe it never will, but it no longer controls my life. I'm building my own path now. One line of code, one day, one moment at a time.